Ladies and gentlemen, David Letterman.
How you doing? Nice to meet you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Wait a minute. I was hoping there'd be a second wave. You're all right. Nice to see you.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this.
I was going to talk about the playwright in the age of AI. What the hell?
Yeah, I know. We totally flipped the script on you. I'm sorry. I'm just going to stay out here for a few minutes and talk to you about it, and then you're going to interview your guest.
Yeah.
But look, we saw what happened last night. It follows what happened to Colbert. You're the godfather of the genre.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. You're the godfather of the genre.
The great-grandfather.
Tell us, I wasn't going there. Tell us what you think about what happened last night to Jimmy Kimmel.
Well, this is misery. And in the world of somebody who is an authoritarian, maybe a dictatorship, sooner or later everyone is going to be touched. But this is me. For 30 years, I did this for a living. So I see this happen. They took care of Colbert. That was rude. That was inexcusable. The man deserves a great deal of credit. He's in the Hall of Fame 9 times. And to be manipulated like that because the Ellison family didn't want to trouble Donald Trump with this move, so they got rid of him. Not only got rid of him, got rid of the whole franchise. You're not going to have to worry about anything, Larry. It's all gone. It's fine. Good night. And then my good friend Jimmy Kimmel. I feel bad about this because we all see where this is going, correct? It's managed media, and it's no good. It's silly. It's ridiculous, and you can't go around firing somebody because you're fearful or trying to suck up to an authoritarian criminal administration in the Oval Office. That's just not how this works. Ten years ago, I was smart enough to cancel myself. But the other thing is, the FCC, this guy, Brendan Carr, yes. So this guy, the FCC, is we can do things the easy way, we can do things the hard way. Who is hiring these goons? Mario Puzo? The FCC, we're not happy until you're not happy, for God's sakes. When I was a kid, I was like 20 years old, and I wanted to work at a radio station, so I went to Chicago to the FCC. You take a test. You pass the test, you have your third phone radio broadcasting license. That's what the FCC does. If you're a 50,000-watt Clear Channel radio station, once a year they'll come and check your dials to make sure you're not broadcasting at 55,000 watts. And God forbid you are, then you get an $8 fine. That is the FCC. I don't know what is going on here.
Well, let me ask you this. You worked through 5 or 6 presidential
administrations. Oh my God! And yes, this a whole list. It started with Jimmy Carter, and
in your first show in the Carter era. Okay.
Yes, that's right. And then all the way right up through Barack Obama. And was there one after that I worked for? When did I leave?
Possibly. I don't know personally. When did you? 10 years ago, you said.
Hang on, I got a list. Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George Bush Sr., Bill Clinton, George Bush II, Barack Obama. Yeah.
All right.
And attack these men mercilessly, never once. Well, Jimmy Carter, not so much, because what can you say about Jimmy Carter? He was just a sweet guy. But everybody else, we really went to work on. And I can remember Bill Clinton we really went to work on. And then it was like, whoa, this is a gift. What are we going to do? Bill Clinton, he's out of office after 8 years of Bill Clinton. And then George Bush came along, and it was easy motoring after that. But the point is, beating up on these people, rightly or wrongly, accurately or perhaps inaccurately, in the name of comedy, not once were we squeezed by anyone from any governmental agency, let alone the dreaded FCC.
Republican, Democrat, never
Well, I will say we probably went easy on Barack Obama because I kind of like the guy.
But never a call from the White House,
Nothing.
Never an intimation.
No, because everybody sort of understood, in the name of humor, in the name of commenting on what's going on in the world, cultural events, Why not? And by the way, the institution of the President of the United States ought to be bigger than a guy doing a talk show. You know, it really ought to be bigger.
Well, it was really interesting. Last night, late at night, Trump is tweeting or truth socialing from Windsor Castle after a state dinner hosted by the King of England about in doing his late night television show Critique. I mean, it feels like we're living in a simulation when you think about that.
Well, it would be hilarious if it wasn't all leading to something from which we won't recover.
Well, what do you think it's leading to?
I think it's easily. First of all, here's the thing that's up my nose these days. By God, we got to get to work on those midterms. Well, I think the midterm elections will be elections in name only. I'm sorry. The Republicans have raised untold billions of dollars. The Democrats, I think, are staggering a bit behind in terms of fundraising.
Let me ask you about the actual joke or commentary that Jimmy Kimmel made the other night. It actually was inaccurate. I mean, recognizing that he's a comedian, not a journalist.
Inaccurate. Yes, exactly right. We all make mistakes. I mean, good Lord. And by the way, the condition of the United States of America has not been perfect from the time I was born to this very day, and before that. We know that. The goal is not perfection. Mistakes are going to be made. Hopefully it will improve. I think, sadly, it's not going to improve. I'm not exactly in full mind understanding of what Jimmy said, what he was trying to say, and what mistake was made. This is something that was predicted by our president right after Stephen Colbert. Colbert got walked off. So you're telling me that this isn't premeditated at some level?
Well, I mean, he also announced that Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers were next. And Jimmy Fallon, this is my own view, is not quite as sharp-tongued as
And why is that, Jeff? Why do you think that is?
No, but...
Has something to do with IQ? Is that what you're saying?
No, he has a different personality. He's just a different kind of comedian.
By the way, isn't this guy great on Friday nights?
Oh, look at that. Thank you very much.
Me and my grandparents really love him.
I told him he's way too young to watch Washington Week with the Atlantic, but
this was, when this thing happened last night, and by the way, I have heard from Jimmy. He was nice enough to text me this morning, and he's sitting up in bed taking nourishment. He's going to be fine. But I said to my wife, I said, I don't know what to think or say about this situation. I wish in the world, and this is what's great about New York, I wish in the world I could talk to Jeff Goldberg. Here I am talking to Jeff Goldberg. I mean, honest to God, isn't it amazing how these things work?
It's all serendipity here. But keep going on this theme of this dissent, because one of the things I think a lot of us are wondering about. I'm surprised at the number of hardcore moves that this administration has made in many, many different directions at once, including dismantling the CDC as just one example, dismantling USAID. In every direction.
You don't like the labor numbers, you fire the person reading the labor numbers.
Reading the number. So the question is, it does seem, and I just want your analysis of this, it does seem that there's a kind of passivity in the country about these things. People are saying, well, Jimmy Kimmel did. I mean, I have to ask you that question, but Jimmy Kimmel did get it wrong. So, and the company, we heard Mike Pence earlier say, well, look, it's a private company. Jimmy Kimmel doesn't have a First Amendment right to work for that company. He didn't exactly deal with the question of the pressure put on by the FCC. But what is your diagnosis? What is the red line for the American people who I've believed like having a First Amendment historically and today?
So? Yes.
No, I mean, I've always operated in the assumption that people think it's pretty good that you can get to say what you want in America.
Yes.
So what is going on here?
Well, I would ask you, what are the determining landmarks here? Authoritarianism, how is that different from a dictatorship? Does authoritarianism breed dictators? Is a dictator a special category? Where are we on that progress? Because I think we're inexorably headed in that direction. So I need you to tell me something encouraging that I can take home that will settle down my wife.
This is not rhetorical.
I'm asking you.
Oh, you're at shit.
He said shit. Oh, my God. The Atlantic Monthly guy said shit. Yes. There's your First Amendment, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. No, as I said to Ayoade, we don't have to worry. We don't worry about the FCC. Look, we don't worry. I mean, and I have to say this in all seriousness to a group of people who subscribe to the Atlantic and read the Atlantic. Look, you know, there's only two ways to approach. I'm not trying to sound like self-righteous or whatever, but I'm not. There's only two ways to approach this moment. Either you stay true to your mission and just say what you think is true, what you know to be true, or you don't. I'm personally very surprised at the large numbers of companies that don't have to fold. It's just about money. I mean, nobody yet is threatening to send them to the gulag, but the pursuit of money has distorted the reactions of the people who know better, including the people who employ Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert, and, by the way, a newspaper that's based in Washington that we can talk about at another time.
What happened to that rag?
You know, there are only two kinds of owners. I mean, we happen to have a good one, but there's two kinds of owners, and they're the owners who don't realize that their one responsibility is to protect the journalists, to allow them to say exactly what the whole country is built on this premise.
But this is exactly what I'm alluding to. There was these two standards of journalism in the United States, the Post and the Times. And one could think, okay, these will stabilize. These are people who represent the truth, and if they get it wrong, they apologize and will make changes. And now one is gone. I have family members who live in the Washington, D.C. Area, and you're lucky if you get the crossword and weather, you know, out of the Washington Post.
To answer your question briefly, there's no answer. What is the bright line between soft authoritarianism, preemptive authoritarianism? Yes. By the way, the analogy of the boiling frog is actually incorrect. Frogs do try to hop out of water, it turns out. But
finally we've learned something here today.
We go slow. But every day brings this almost cognitive assault.
How do people? You think, okay, I'm still okay. I can still have breakfast. I still have a big screen TV, so things are okay. At what point do people who should be affected by this as early on, and the people that, and again, things were not good for a huge part of this country, and they're not going to get better for that same group. So at what point do the doors open in the mind of average Americans and they're petrified?
As long, you know, this is the problem is, as long as there are an abundance of cheap calories, reasonably priced gasoline, and endless video diversion, it's very hard to imagine this country right now sort of saying, wait a second, having a functioning CDC, FDA, USAID, National Weather Service, et cetera. This is the main question that I ask, and I think a lot of our journalists at The Atlantic ask, is like, when is this going to penetrate? When is the idea that, we've always believed that vaccination was a settled issue in America since the time of George Washington, as I mentioned earlier. It turns out that it's not settled. That doesn't seem to upset people enough.
Yes, I know. This is the great mystery. Why aren't people upset by this or a half a dozen other things that are upsetting?
You know what? It's like, maybe it's like, and I'm not comparing any one country to another country, but maybe it's like Tahrir Square in Cairo in 2011. Nobody thought that it was going to happen until it happened. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what the thing is.
This was the Arab Spring.
The Arab Spring. I don't know what the thing is. You know, you would think that it's when the government fires the people who track Ebola, which is not a partisan issue, you would think that many people would say, you know what, it's probably better to know where the Ebola is, and that hasn't happened. So we're all waiting to see what the reaction is, but we also understand that people in the Trump administration.
Okay, so let's just say there is an awareness.
By the way, I know that we have to bring out your actual guests. So
I'm calling the shots here, pal.
All right.
But let's just say there is an actual awareness beyond what you and I believe and can imagine. Let's say everybody is aware. What do we do?
Well, look, we still have a free media. I mean, we get to say, well, large swaths of it, yeah. The world's biggest newspaper, the New York Times, is independent of what's happening in Washington.
How many times has the president sued them?
Yeah, I understand that they're under pressure, but again, it comes back to...
Well, look at what happened to the Washington Post with their
exactly. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying we're not in trouble.
Thank God for your magazine.
Thank God.
Sakes.
Yes. Yes. That is worthy of a pause. And look, we have an independent judiciary. What we don't have right now is a legislative branch that is functioning according to the demands of the Constitution. That is the biggest troublesome fact. But we do have an independent judiciary.
Will you agree that checks and balances they're pretty anemic now? I
agree that everything is under pressure right now, and ultimately, and look, coming back to the Mike Pence interview before, and I hear a lot of things about Mike Pence, and I understand there are a lot of people who disagree with Mike Pence and his worldview. I would say this, sometimes a person's whole life can be judged by what they do in one single moment of their life. Mike Pence said on that terrible day, nope, this election, this was a free and fair election. The results should be ratified. I don't care that the person who made me vice president wants to kill me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do my constitutional duty. And I have this hope, and I think you do too. Maybe you don't. Well, all right, fine.
No, I'm sorry.
I have this hope that
I don't.
I have this hope that there are many, many more people like Mike Pence in the world. We haven't seen enough of them in the current manifestation.
What are they waiting on?
That's the question. Yeah. That's the question.
By the way, I'll speak for everybody in this room who has kids. I don't so much care about me. I've had my fun. I got a 21-year-old son. I'm worried about him and his family.
And that's completely legitimate. And I'm going to leave you so you can do.
It's been fun, though, right?
Yeah, no, it's been great. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming to the Atlantic Festival.
This is a great pleasure for me.
It's great. It's great. And now you're going to introduce your guest. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye. Bye.